if you are a black man specifically who are trying to be a man of God, that you have to first of all recognize your sin. I think patriarchy is based upon sin. Personally, I just think it is. Recognize your sin, but also recognize, what do I need to do right now to rectify what thousands of years of oppression has done, and specifically, in my opinion, toward black women.
The president has now released the National Guard and other federal agencies to, stop crime. And we're starting to see that the DC that we were able to walk around and see the monuments and see the national parks and museums is
You're seeing tanks.
You're seeing tanks. You're seeing guns. I know a lot of people, specifically black people, have potential fear that this could be another 2020. It's one of those things that, for me as a black woman, my major concern for black men, the black men in my family, the black men I have access to, friends, all of the above, that is safety. Welcome back to Your Favorite Black Lobbyist. I'm Alexis, and today I have a very special guest with me, Nigel Walton, dear friend of mine. We used to work together in the lobbying space, but now he's based in DC. In law school. So I'm super excited to have him on. And I think we're going to have a really great conversation today. Thank you so much, Nigel, for coming on. I really, really appreciate you for taking the time. I know, I feel like my intro didn't do you justice. So if you want to add that, because you are an amazing person, and I'm so thankful that you are able to come on and I get to have your voice. And so, yes.
Well, I thought the introduction was fine, but
so humble.
I tell people that I am a son of a single black mom who is amazing. We actually have the same birthday. Our birthday is in 2 weeks. So that's exciting. I'm the brother of two amazing, I'm the baby. So I'm a little spoiled. But I'm a guy who, I just like, I love people. I love people. I love their stories, and I love, being part of a work, which is, I think, is why I chose law school, being a part of work to make people's lives just a little bit better.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate you kind of giving that background, because I think it shows that we're more than just one thing. Especially, I feel like nowadays, being a young professional, being a young adult, like a lot of people wear their career or wear like their alma mater or certain things as like their personality. And I think to show that you're not just a person that, I go to law school, but that's not all of me. Yeah, like I am or was a lobbyist in Georgia, but that's not all of me, right?
Right.
And that kind of makes up a little bit of who you are. So kind of like segueing into that, share a little bit about who Nigel is. I know you gave away into that you are a, product of a single black mother who shared the same birthday. You're a sibling, but also I'm pretty sure a friend to many, but also what else and who else shapes Nigel, and how has that, or how have they helped you or shaped you into your career now, into you wanting to go to law school and become an attorney, or even have become a lobbyist or be in this government affairs space?
Right. That's a great question. I think that everyone is full of multiple identities.
Mm-hmm.
That everyone that you ever meet, that we hold multiple identities to multiple different people.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I always said I'm a son, and I always said that I'm a brother. Mm-hmm. But for example, I am a Christian. I am a person who genuinely believes Jesus is my Lord and Savior.
Mm-hmm.
But even not only am I a Christian, but that I am a Christian who actually believes that it makes no sense for people to have hell on earth, and then when you get to heaven, it's heaven. well, I'm one of those people. Let's just bring heaven on earth so at least people can actually have a life. I grew up in rural Georgia. Grew up in Albany. So if you fly into Atlanta and drive 3 hours, or if you want to pay $600 to make that 30-minute flight, you will reach Albany. And Albany is one of those places. It's small. It's predominantly Black. We have a HBCU there, which I grew up going to the homecoming. And I think one of the things that I dislike about my life so far is that I haven't gone to an HBCU, and there will be no more school after this. So I don't know how we're going to do that, but there ain't going to be no more school after this. But being raised in Albany, I got the connotation of, number one, you work for what you want.
Yeah.
That you can do anything that you want to do.
Yeah.
Number two, that, it doesn't really matter what you've done in your life. There's a way for you to overcome that. There's a way for you to reach the next level of whatever that means. Number three, someone once said, would you rather be a big fish in a small pond, or whatever they say? Well, I grew up, if you're a big fish, you're a big fish.
Yeah.
I am a big fish. You are a big fish. Whoever your listeners are, they're big fish. So no matter what pond or lake, whether that's Albany, Atlanta, DC, whatever that means, I just believe that, okay, I'm going to be fine because of the person I am, which I couldn't sing. Well, I can sing a little bit, but I can't sing enough where you can see me in concert. I'm athletic, but not athletic to play anything. So I was like, hey, I like to read and write, and I grew up poor, and I don't want to, one day when I have a wife and kids, I don't want them to live in the same way I did. So I said, okay, what could I do? And I found myself into law in the government affairs space.
I'm really glad you used that analogy with the big fish, and no matter what environment you're in, you're a big fish. And right. I think that's beautiful, because not only do people may not feel like that, especially in the digital media space, or definitely in the time of social media, where the thief of comparison, you'll look at someone else's life or look and try to compare your skills that are you to and you're like, well, like I said, I can sing, but I'm not like no Luther Vandross, right? I'm athletic, but I'm not like NFL, NBA player, soccer ready. And so I love that you mentioned that instead of that way, because I think a lot of people, specifically to Black men, may not feel like that. And let me be clear, I don't want to feel the need to speak on behalf of Black men. That's why I really want to get your perspective. But do you feel like from your experience, of course, being in being in connection with Black men on a different level, of course, and perception than I am in connection to Black men, do you feel like that is something that Black men kind of struggle with, to kind of, that idea that they have to be this big fish and navigate the waters the same, or they have to be this, do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that I'll take it on a bigger level. I think a lot of TikTok and Instagram, we have created this thing. I say we because we're all part of this social media landscape. We have created the stereotype that men have to be a certain way. And the problem is, if that stereotype worked for a certain man, then it works out. I'm 5'4". If I was 6'2", I would be a problem.
They definitely think you would be a problem.
I would be a problem. So I'm not one of those guys. I'm not a club person at all. Yeah. I don't really like the club. That's not my thing. I'm one of those people that I love a walk. I love a winery. I love the theater. I love the orchestra. That's stuff I love. But that is countercultural to what you see on social media, especially if you're a Black man. So then you get if my algorithm's always, okay, the stereotype, what a black man is supposed to be, whether we agree or disagree, or being, I know a lot of times in our community, we like to have this 50-50 conversation, which we need to stop having. But whether we agree or disagree, I think the hard thing for black men is we have to figure out, okay, what's our version of success that we want? And once I figure out what my version of success is, I'm going to pursue that. And I'm not going to look to the left or to the right. I'm going to look straight forward into what I believe God has for me.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because I think a lot of people need to kind of think like that, to where it's more of a my lane. What am I called to do? How does success, or how does this look for me? And I think we get so caught up in the general scope of, well, I can't operate this way because the perception of black men, or the stereotypes, or the parameters, or the boundaries that I have to fall in line with as a black man, or even as a black woman, whether it's in the work or corporate space, or in your career, whether it's how you show up in your community, in your relationships, or even just with yourself, right? I think I really love that you know how to operate authentically with yourself, or authentic in these spaces, because you know, like, hey, this is who I am. This is how I can play the part that I can play, because this is how God has blessed me in this space. I want to kind of transition into, you know, the intersection of, or from your perspective, because you are a man of faith and you wear that on your sleeve, but you're also in the land of politics and policy work. And even though you are going to school to be a lawyer, you still are in that, you're still actively in that space and in those conversations. And so I want to talk about the intersection of faith and policy, especially in what's, you know, our current administration, right? Like, you know, we're seeing a lot of white and evangelical conservative Christians, and how, in my opinion, a lot of them are perverting the Bible for their own emotional and personal gain, to, you know, I'll even say political gain, right? And how they're using, and how they're using it to push that narrative and propaganda. And so what role do you feel like black men do play or need to play in that space, especially as believers? I'm pretty sure you go to Bible study, you're in community. So I want to get your thoughts and perspective of that.
Yeah, I think, okay, so first and foremost, talking about black men who are believers, it is the responsibility of us to realize, what does our faith mean in our culture? So what that means to me is, what does my faith mean in a culture that has developed by patriarchy? What does my culture mean that has been developed in a capitalistic and racist society? And me being black, okay, that's a little bit easier, but also I'm not a woman. So for example, we get in the conversation of abortion. I was having a conversation with someone last night about abortion, and I also had another conversation about the LGBTQ community. And this is what I tell people. I said, you know what? I'd rather be known for what I agree on than what I disagree on. That's the first point. I think a lot of times, especially in a lot of these black churches, and even with white evangelical churches, it's like, we know what you hate. It seems like you hate gay people and you hate people who've had abortions. That's like the running. It's like, ain't nothing. I don't know what else you've done with your church. I don't think as a believer I should be known for that. Yeah. That that's Jesus good. Said, you know, I get preachy, so you
go ahead.
Stop me. Go
ahead, Rev.
But Jesus said, okay, so hey, Jesus, what's the greatest commandment? You know, they're trying to test him. He says, well, love the God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. Then he said, and the second one is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. So in my mind, that means I have to, loving my neighbor as I love myself is as equivalent as I'm loving God, that there's no way, and I tell people this all the time, there's no way you can live a great life as a Christian. If you want a great vertical relationship with God, you have to have great horizontal relationships with people. And I think it's the responsibility that if you believe that if you are a Black man specifically who are trying to be a man of God, that you have to first of all recognize your sin. I think patriarchy is based upon sin. Personally, I just think it is. Recognize your sin, but also recognize what do I need to do right now to rectify what thousands of years of oppression has done, and specifically, in my opinion, toward Black women.
Okay. And so you said a lot. But like not in a bad way. I think you said a lot that a lot of people have a lot of Twitter thick pieces about, but also, usually these conversations a lot of people try to do the whole rage bait or clickbait, but I want us to have real authentic conversations because I think, from a biblical standpoint, I think that's real, right? A lot of what we come across or a lot of the issues we come across as to why we can't connect, as a lot of times why we can't show up in this space is because we're not really connecting, right? We're mostly wearing on our sleeve.
We're also not trained to connect to people.
And expound on that.
So, I think from the perspective of, I'm still in the perspective of looking from a Black male who's a Christian. So I have this thing, every preacher I've ever been a part of, every preacher who's the churches I go to, they all have PhDs. People think that's elitism. I don't think it's elitism. What I think it is that the art of pastoring, you have to be trained in every other job. Like, for example, I'm in law school. I have to be trained. A nurse got to be trained.
Absolutely.
A preacher has the biggest responsibility ever to speak for God, and they don't need to be trained. But also in that training, in seminary, people learn how do I relate to people? How do I relate to Alexis, and she is a Black woman? How do I relate to this people? They're probably having marital problems and issues, and they're trying to navigate through that. How do I navigate? I'm a pastor probably in Atlanta, and that's the birthplace of the civil rights movement. So they look at the perspective. We look at different things differently. White people and Black people, we just look at things differently because Black people are still struggling. So I think we are not trained to connect. We're not trained to communicate to people. In another instance, I think on that, I try to be very good at honoring people, but not just honoring people above me. Because everybody misses the anointing of the people beside you. And it's the people that beside you, like we are at the start of each other's story. Knock on wood. I pray that God gives me a very, very long life, and God gives you a very, very long life.
Amen.
But because we're at the start of each other's story, I do not know what God has in store for you. But most people miss that, and we treat people terribly. And now because we treat people terribly, we have negated and neglected that person's responsibility in our own story.
Yeah.
See, I'm getting preachy again.
No, I'm here for it. I'm glad that you mentioned that part about how we actually are not good connectors and how we are not trained to relate to people. Because a lot of times I think, especially now in today's culture, we don't have to. Right. I think society has been built to where we, especially a westernized society, has been built to where we have this very independent, mindset to where we don't have to. I don't think westernized society is built based on community compared to other nations and countries and societies.
I would so agree with that.
And I think that has caused a lot of why we think the way that we do and call it, nationalism, patriotic. I think that we have scoped that and molded that ideology into what it is now. And that's why I think that's a good segue into what we're seeing now in today's time, right? I mean, you're a resident of DC. You're studying, don't quote me, it's an American University.
GW.
GW. I apologize.
GW. Yeah, you're fine.
But now DC is starting to look very different, right? The president has now released the National Guard and other federal agencies to, stop crime. And we're starting to see that the DC that we were able to walk around and see the monuments and see the national parks and museums is
You're
good.
Seeing tanks.
You're seeing tanks. You're seeing guns, and you're seeing things that look like we're in the middle of a war, right? Or preparing for one.
It looks like we're in another country.
Right. It does. Right. It doesn't embody the American dream. And I think that I wanted to get your thoughts and perspective as a DC resident or a DMV resident, but also too as a Black man who is navigating that, because I know a lot of people, specifically Black people, have potential fear that this could be another 2020, right?
Right.
And if you had any either call to action, or if you had any advice for those that are up there, on how to, I think right now, as Black people, especially in the policy space, we're trying to figure out strategically how to navigate that space without it being another 2020 with, major because I don't think, that's going to go over the same way as it did in 2020. And so it's in 2025. So I'll stop talking and kind of see if you have any thoughts on that.
I have a lot of thoughts. I think, so first and foremost, a lot of people say, well, one side, Trump says DC has a crime problem. Okay?
Right.
Other side says, well, it's been the lowest crime that we've had in years. Both things can actually be true at the same time. Because the thing is, just because crime is down doesn't mean that crime is down is all of a sudden good crime.
Right.
I worked at the U.S. Attorney's Office over the summer. Crime is still here, and there's still a lot of illegal guns on the streets. There was literally a case, 2 gang members, they got in an argument, started firing their guns. Bystander was there. A young mother got killed in front of her 2 toddlers.
Oh my gosh.
Now they have to grow up like that.
Yeah.
So crime is still happening. I do not think you should use the National Guard in any way to perform the duties that the Metropolitan Police Department is doing.
Right.
Instead, there's so many other ways, especially DC-wise, that Congress can work with DC to give them federal resources to make sure that people do this. I just have one. Okay, number one, I can walk to Georgetown, and you've been in DC, so you know about Georgetown.
Yeah.
Why are these people in Georgetown? Criminals ain't going to Georgetown.
The National Guard's in Georgetown?
Yeah. There's no metro over there. So the people who want to commit the crimes can't get over there. That's the first point. Number 2, if you walk around Georgetown, I'm like,
it's nice. There's nothing happening.
People ain't committing crimes out here. You go east of the river.
Right. Go
Congress
southwest.
Heights. And southwest. Oh, yeah. They got some problems over there.
Yeah.
Those are the people that we need to be focusing on. So I think that if you're going to do this, which again should not be using National Guard, then do this. Use the Metropolitan Police Department. Use the people who know that community, and then go into that community and actually help use those community assets or what have you to actually improve it. I think also it's also ridiculous that we have a bunch of these conservative states sending their National Guard to there. That makes, I know this is, got a podcast and everything, so I won't say what I want to say. But
be honest.
That makes no sense. I'm just like, so are y'all just sending your own National Guard to suck off Donald Trump? Because that's what it looks like. So let's just say, okay, great example, Louisiana. Louisiana, their governor sent okay, I've been to Louisiana. I love New Orleans.
Love it.
Take your ass to Shreveport.
Right.
That's one of the worst. Speaker Johnson his crime in his district is terrible.
Yeah.
Where's the National Guard there? you don't need to send them there. They need to be helping your ass. So I'm just one of them people. Like, I think we need these practical solutions here. It makes no sense. Florida, I think Florida's thinking about sending some people. We about to go through hurricane season. Does that really make any sense for us to send this during when especially to Florida, because of climate change is making these hurricanes worse? Should we send these people? We shouldn't. So you mentioned a call to action. I would say to the people who are in these other states, number one, if you want to get Donald Trump out there, how about you vote? And I'm not talking about vote just for the presidential election, which is important.
It is important.
But vote for your congressional elections. Most people don't know who their congressman is.
They don't know who their state or their local officials are, city council, even
exactly.
School
board.
Not
only do they not know who they are, they don't know where to start. So then they call these offices. They're like, well, I have this problem. That's a federal problem. And I think one of the worst things the American education system, when we let our football coaches teach our civics class.
Right. It wasn't even teaching. They was just making sure you came to class, and they just wanted to check off that, hey.
We needed real teachers, because now we're in the mess that we're in. We have a generation that is growing up and they don't know how important politics is. I hate when people say, well, I don't care about politics. Well, politics cares about you.
Right.
I live near PG County. Yeah. People hate PG, Prince George's County, whatever y'all want to call it.
I got family in PG County. I used to stay in PG County when I was living in D.C.
Right.
Maryland, Fort Washington, Maryland.
Right. PG County, great county, all black county, all black people in leadership.
It's nice. It's great.
Great county, except it has disproportionate income equality depending on where you are.
Right.
I have a friend, her daughter's about to start school. Her main complaint is, where are the other schools? Y'all can build a Chick-fil-A and a Chipotle and all this stuff. Y'all can build these townhomes off of terrible materials, but you're not building a school for my child. Right. Well, I told her, did you vote in the last election for your county government? Because that matters, and people aren't. So I think, number one, if we have a problem outside of this, we need to be telling people outside to see, hey, vote for people who won't do dumb shit that we're seeing. Yeah. As a black man, so I'm a runner. I love to run. And for me, I tell people, one, I don't really run anymore in D.C.
That's what I was going to ask you.
I'd rather go to Maryland or Virginia, preferably Maryland, because I trust their government just a little bit more, that I will go run over there just in case. And there's certain times I run. But also, for example, everybody who's been in D.C., you've been on U Street.
Yeah.
You know what U Street talking about.
Yeah.
We know what U Street talking about. So my thing about U Street, and I tell brothers this, if you're going to go on U Street, right, and you have a satchel and you carrying something, you carrying a firearm, whatever, and if it's in D.C., it's probably illegal because of how their gun laws are. Bro, you know what they're doing out here. Leave the gun at the house anyway, so that you aren't, so that other people are okay. Leave the house because you don't want anything to happen to you while you're up there. And I feel like we don't use our common sense, especially as black people in these environments. Now, just be honest. Yeah. I'm not saying all of them are going to profile, because I'm not going to put a blanket statement on National Guard or MPD. I don't want to do that ever.
Right.
But there will be the bad ones. Sometimes we can't tell the difference between the bad ones and the good ones.
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate thing. So I tell people, our thing that we got to do here is look at we got to make sure that we are using our common sense in these type of situations.
I'm really glad you touched on the wellness piece, because that's what I was going to ask you. I know you're a runner. I know you are active. I know you work out. How, since now DC has changed, how has that impacted your wellness journey? But you kind of already mentioned that you're like, I don't even run in the DC area, not because of the gates and how it looks, but because of safety, right? And that's a real thing, I think, as Black people, specifically as Black men, that's like as a Black woman, that's my concern. I, of course, have Black women in my family. My little brother, he just went off to school, and I told him he goes to Georgia Southern, and I told him the biggest thing I'm concerned is your safety, because you are no longer in Atlanta. you are in Statesboro, you are in the country. It is different. They go on to view you different. He just told me the other day, last week or sometime, like not too long once he got there, that someone rode past him and called him and his friends the N-word. Just drive by N-word, and I was like, at first I was like, well, how do you feel? Because I don't think he's ever experienced something as blatant racism. And he was just like, it was shocking, but it was something that he said, it's just, he handled it a lot better, I think, than I thought he would have. So it's just like, It's one of those things that for me as a Black woman, my major concern for Black men, the Black men in my family, the Black men I have access to, friends, all of the above, that is safety. And I think we're in times where people are no longer hiding, right? Before it was a little insidious, people
don't hide their racism anymore.
No, it's not hidden. They don't
hide their racism, their xenophobia, their misogyny. It's just blatant up front.
Absolutely. And I think we have an administration that upholds that. Upholds that version of America that I thought as a nation we were trying to leave in the past and grow from. But it just seems like we are still here in a different way, right? And I think when he says make America great again, it's his version of America. And, I'm really glad you touched on that piece. I want to kind of talk a little bit about that, not too long, but just how important do you feel like as a Black man in today's time, but also as a man of faith, how much has wellness for you made a difference in how you show up? So, I mean, I don't know if you go to therapy, but I know you're active, but all the things that encompass or embodies wellness. I mean, how important do you think those conversations are? I think that Black men should really take into that.
I think they're very important. So I'm not in therapy right now, but I've been in therapy. And there are a lot of resources, and looking for a therapist right now. There are a lot of resources for people to action. I don't know them off the top of my head, but that Black men specifically can get therapy at a free or reduced cost. And I think that not only therapy is important, but the wellness is so important because you are already carrying the weight. Like if you are trying to be a man after God's own heart, you are called to carry a weight that is different. Now let's just add you're Black. You are called to carry a weight that is drastically different than your white counterparts. That if you are trying to be a man after God's own heart, that people may look at you and be like, okay, you're supposed to be this, and I'm dealing with all these burdens. What the heck am I supposed to do when I'm feeling all this? You have to have some way to lay it down. Yeah. And I think I had a mentor tell me, I think a lot of men, we don't go the direction of wellness. We go to the other W's. We go through wealth, women, or wine. And the problem is with that, those end. The bad things happen, and we see those, and I'll shout it out. We see those in people like Diddy. We see those people in like Shannon Sharp. We see those people. We see them. I'm not using them like they did something wrong. I'm using that as I think we should have a warning and look at that and say, what should we do? So for me, it's not only running, but it's journaling. It is talking to, shout out to two of my best friends, Jabbar and Rashad, and asking them, hey, this is how I'm feeling. What am I supposed to do? I'm a crier. I cry all the time, and I'm fine with it. Yeah. And I tell people should be able to cry. Yeah. We stop telling, especially little boys, that you're not supposed to cry. No, cry. Let's get those emotions out. Let's get those feelings out. Let's see what's behind that so that we could actually fix it. So I think we should really, Black men should be dedicated to really their wellness, whether it's getting a haircut, whether it's running, whatever it is, people should be dedicated to their wellness.
I'm really glad that you mentioned about pretty much wearing your heart on your sleeve and normalizing Black men or men in general having emotions, because I know that is the stereotype that men or Black men specifically should not cry. They don't have to show their emotions. And so when, as a woman and you engage with a man and you're like, don't show your emotions. And either they don't or they do a little bit. And then they're, and I also was.
They're yelled at.
They're yelled at, or they're told like, too much. I reel that back in. Now they're like, I don't want to share it, And I also will encourage women and Black women specifically, like, don't do that. Don't, if you want it to be a safe space for Black men around you, allow them to fully express themselves the way that we want to fully express ourselves in their safe space or to a man, right? And I think we have to unlearn those those societal stereotypes and pressures that we put on Black men, because Black men carry a lot. And I think it's, and I honestly hate the conversations that Black women and Black men have about, it's like, it seems like it's a competition, or it's like, oh, well, Black women have a lot too. And, but yes, as a Black person, we carry.
It's not a competition.
Yeah, it's Black men carry a lot, because not only just as a Black man, but as a man. Men have to hold a lot. And I know, I'm very similar to, like, I grew up Southern Baptist, I grew up in rural Georgia. And yes, there are some traditional aspects of me that I do look for a man to uphold and to carry themselves. But also I recognize that Black men need a space to be able to cry or to express themselves. And if they can't have access or they can't do it in therapy, where else can they do it? And
it's going to bottle up.
It's going to bottle up, and then it comes out in the most ugliest ways. And that in turn goes into the whole safety question, right? Because when it happens, or you reached at your limit and you get someone at the wrong time and the right one, now that can impact your safety. Yeah. But I'm really glad. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I wonder how many Black boys that the reason why they get into crime is because they genuinely feel like there's no way to get out of, there's no way to be upwardly mobile. That they actually, like, I look at it is, if you want to actually focus on crime, focus on the economic determinants of crime, so people can't eat.
Yeah.
Well, I have to go, I'm gonna do, hey, I'm eating.
You got to do what you got to
do. So, hey, I'm leaving with some. So let me go commit a crime, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like on that, I'm very big upon, like, Black masculinity, and I think it's better to build boys than men to men. You can do both, but I think it's easier to build boys than men. So in building boys, it's like, okay, then how in the world can I get you to be like, hey, you can be a lawyer, you can be a lobbyist, you can be a doctor, you can be whatever you want to be, and you can rise above. Because if you don't feel like you have any hope, then you're going to go in the way of violence.
Yeah. And I'm really glad you touched on a point about community, about, you having a friend that you can lean on and confide in. I'm not, of course, a Black man, so I don't know what those spaces look like, but I definitely encourage Black boys and men, even like a form of mentorship, where giving back to the community, to where young Black boys can see Black men doing the thing that you're being that representation.
Right.
And you're allowing them to have that safe space, because, Black women can sit there and nurture and talk to Black boys, but it's going to hit different when it's coming from Black men that they can actually see themselves in.
Right.
And
I agree.
I definitely think that's really good, not only from a mentor-mentee space, but also as a peer space, right? Having more community, having more groups that doesn't involve the other W's, wealth, wine, and women, right? It's actually including, what does that look like when we worship together? What does that look like when we come together and talk about our issues? And it's not in a bashing way, but it's in a, I see you, brother. What does that look like? And so I thoroughly encourage, more Black men to kind of buy, especially in what's going on in today's time. I had a conversation with the pastor of my church, and he was pretty much saying how we really need to focus and be strategic on building up community, because right now we're in a time where Black people, the Black community, has to do it ourselves. We can no longer rely on the government. We can no longer rely on other resources or other communities potentially to be that ally, to help us in these times. And so I think now we are recognizing that we are our greatest ally and strength, and that we have to all come together and be that great connector that God has called us to be, and, get us where we're trying to go. And that also includes taking your hand and extending it to our young Black men and boys that are coming up into this world that is not forgiving, nor is it welcoming all the time. And I know that may not be everybody's story, but I do know as a person of color right now, where the xenophobia, the blatant racism is very apparent, and it's known, and it's now being, pushed on our throats more than ever, that we're not wanted and we're not welcomed. I think this is a time to definitely not shrink, but to embolden our community, especially our peers and our brothers and sisters. So I really appreciate that perspective. I wanted to kind of wrap up I know you kind of gave a call to action earlier, but if you had any advice or hope for the next generation, or for even your brothers out there, or even, your peers, if they could take anything away from this, as you are a Black man who is intersected into the faith, into wellness, and also into the policy space as we are navigating these times, do you have any encouraging words or a call to action?
I think I have two big things. I think number one, we kind of touched on this. I'd rather be a varsity version of myself than a JV version of somebody else.
Oh, okay.
So I'd rather be Nigel, who I am authentically, and I'd rather not be, name some people that y'all may not know, Cal Walcott or Gerald Chiches, who are mentors to me, because I can't be them. They have their own identities and everything. What I can be is, and God calls me to be, is the very best version of Nigel. People should be the very best version of themselves, because if they don't, the world is missing out on that. Somebody, literally, future you is dependent on the present you to be the real you. Because if you don't, then we will lose the blessing that you actually are to people. That'd be the first thing. I think the second thing is, we were in this series in my church, Alfred Street Baptist Church, Pastor Howard John Wesley.
Shout
love
out.
him to death. We were like, You Make Me Better, and we went through different people in David's life. And one of the things that I got from it is, and I'm going to change a little bit, every David needs a Jonathan. As in, every David needs somebody who's right beside them doing the work. For me, that's Jabari Aiken, Rashad Townsend, Eric Kahinga. That's those guys. They're right beside me. But I also need people who I look up to. And I have different mentors for different people for different reasons, business or professional. So you need people you can look up to and be like, hey, I'm dating this person. I don't know what to do in this. Or I have this career opportunity. What should I do?
Yeah.
But you also need somebody. You yourself have to be the person to give back. You yourself have to be the person to be like, okay, how can I serve you? How can I make you better? And a mentor has three obligations: to provide you advice, accountability, and access.
Yeah.
Those are three things that they're supposed to do in whatever space that you want them in. And if we can do that in my opinion, to the younger generation, get them out of their phones, get them out of ChatGPT and all that, and actually love on them and actually serve them, then I think we'll be good. There's this quote that said, "Whoever wants the next generation will get them." Well, part of that is we actually have to want to serve them, say, hey, I don't like the term YNs. I hate that term, actually.
Yeah.
Because I don't see the connotation of, if I'm on the metro of a YN, I see, hey, bro, are you okay? Are you hurting? What can we do politically, policy-wise, to make sure you have something to do that we're supporting your dreams?
Yeah. I'm really, really glad that you gave those 2 points. I think that's very, that's all important. And, the biggest thing is connecting, reaching out, making sure that there's a space for our next generation. There's a space and a desire, right? That we can be able to reach down and say, hey, we got to build you up. And that's really important, because I think right now we're not really seeing a lot of that. And we've seen from the people that we looked up to burn out, and there was no one else to take their place. And so I think that's really, really important. I think that we need to be strategic, especially in our generation and beyond, to continue to make sure we're having people alongside with us, so that when we get tired, when we're done, when we reach the end of our life, that we have someone to take on that baton. Other communities do it. I think the Black community need to get back into that, because we used to do it. And so I think that was really, really good. Nigel, thank you so much. This was such a great conversation. I know we can talk on and on about this for days, and maybe we might do a part 2. I don't know, but I really, really thank you for your time. I thank you for being just a light, but also being a voice to this generation, to the younger generation, and even the generation of before us, because, you know, you spread so much joy. You're so authentic in who you are. And I'm just super proud of you and the man that you are and the man that you're becoming. And so,
well, I'm super proud of you, and I thank you for having me. Like, you are amazing. I'm proud of what you are building. I'm proud of the woman that you are and the woman that you are becoming. And I think it's so amazing that you have this platform, because people get to see what I've already known, is that you're amazing and that you have a voice and you have a lot to, I think, add. Not only, I believe, in the space, whether it's government affairs, lobbying, but you have a lot to add, I think, in the world and what we need to hear right now. So keep on going.
Thank you. I needed to hear that. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And we'll definitely talk soon. I'll be in DC soon for CBC. Hopefully it ain't looking too militarized. But
right.
Hopefully. But Nigel, thank you so much. This has been a joy. This has been a delight. We'll definitely keep in touch and definitely have you back on the podcast for more of your wisdom.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.